This is Chelsea Gordon interviewing Sayyara Saeed on the 21st of September 2017 at her house in South Birmingham. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So Sayyara was born in 1950 in... Sayyara was born in 1915 in Sialkot, Punjab, Pakistan. She migrated at the age of 19 in 1970 straight to Birmingham. So would you like to tell me about your family background?
Yes, we were mum and dad and with 6 children, and I'm kind of in the middle. And my father came to England before us, and then we, brother and sister, came with mother to join our father in 1970.
Okay, lovely. And how was it growing up in Punjab?
Oh, it was, I think, the best ever childhood you could have. Even though dad wasn't at home, we missed him a lot because before coming to England, he's been to Middle East for a long time in various countries. So we actually didn't see dad a lot at home. So considering mom brought us up on her own most of the time, with the help of extended family, I think the childhood was wonderful. I say very rich, and rich in the sense that we have loads of relatives, cousins, neighbours, friends, so it was never a lonely time. And then during holidays, we'll go to our village because obviously Sialkot is like Birmingham, very hectic life, very busy town, industrial town. But to get away from it, every holidays we'll go to our grandparents' house, which was in a village, quiet countryside. So had that experience of a different style of life. And that makes it very rich, having both sides, city life and urban life.
Okay, lovely. So would you like to paint me a picture of one of your earliest childhood memories?
Earlier childhood memory was the house we were living in first. It was like right in the heart of very populated area. So that gives us a chance to have our playmates. In those days we played in street and parents weren't worried. And nobody was, everybody knew who lives in the street, and we usually played with them. And school memories were very good as well. I don't think I cried at school. Now, when my daughters went and my grandchildren, I know that they cry, but maybe they went. It is just emotional bonding with the parents, and for me, I didn't cry at school at all. Those are my happiest time at school as well, and I was never in trouble, so maybe that made it a happy time.
Okay, that sounds really good. So how was school in Punjab?
School was, I went to American school, which I have both kind of education, English and Urdu. I think the school education was so different than other schools that I loved it. I think I was very eager learner, and I wanted to be part of learning. And I loved being with my friends at school, and I don't remember having any incident which was unpleasant, and which I will say I wish that didn't happen. And I was very much life of my other activities, school extracurricular activities like drama and art, and taking part in all the school events. I was always at the forefront. So I think that made me maybe my personality, happy personality, that I was always doing something. Even if I was at school or when I was at home, I learned things from my mother, and I was, apart from education, I was doing extracurricular activities at home as well. So learning was, I think, part of me.
So you mentioned you did lots of extracurriculum activities like drama and art. Did you have a favourite and why?
And I think our school encouraged us. After school, that we were given an hour and we were asked to write poems or write a play because visitors used to come to school from other countries and we have to prepare ourselves. Our teacher will give us guidance from very early age. I remember that we have to create things ourselves and not just poems and things. When there was festival and season, we have to create things and make things, and then display will be on the walls and on the board. So that was like embedded in me. So the favorite then became later on some of the art activities like then writing and poem reading.
Okay, lovely. And you spoke briefly about your relationship with your mother. Would you like to speak more about that?
Yeah, because mom, I think because there were four boys and we were two sisters. I was very close to mom then because there are all male in the house, so bonding with the mom, and mom was very soft, gentle person. Uh, so even she wanted us to not to do things. She has a very subtle way of saying um, it is not good to do those things. So it was never like a severe telling off that which will break our relationship or anything. She was very loving to her daughters and sons as well.
Okay, and how was your relationship with your siblings?
Very good because I had two older brothers and I felt they were there to protect me if I needed to be protected. If I have to go somewhere, they will accompany me. And I had two younger brothers whom I could just then play with. And then it wasn't just brother and sister, then it was like extended family, cousins. They were always coming to our house or we were going there. So it was, at that time we knew they were like our real brothers and sisters. So house was always full of people.
So your siblings and your cousins, they were also your friends?
Yeah, they were friends as well, yeah.
And what about other experiences other than school? So you mentioned you mentioned earlier about you'd go and play in the street. So how was your community like there?
That I think now when I compare how I felt when my children have to go out or go to school, it was very safe community, I would say. Our parents didn't worry if we were playing downstairs and parents are upstairs, like in the street. But we didn't go far away from the street. We'll just play there. If they need us, then they could call us. But even that, I think, is a very safe thing to do. Still, there was a traffic. There was like street hawkers, you call them, the one who came to sell things. So it wasn't just people who lived there were there. It was always after a few minutes somebody came to sell something. From that point of view, I think it was very safe. And we went to school walking, not with parents, with older children from school. So once we went to school, we found out who else goes, who is older than us. They will just make sure that we walked with them. And you can't imagine things now happening like this, that your parents have never been to your school and you found people to walk with, and it was considered just as safe. Parents knew who we were going with, and that was it. But I didn't feel that I could let my children go and walk themselves, and I think that was a big difference.
Okay, and moving back to your education, how was it like in secondary school? Like you said, you went to an American school. How's the education system? So did you do like GCSEs or?
Yeah, I was at that school until my primary, and then I moved to another school, which was government school, and that was quite far as well. So I did my like middle school there, and then I wanted to come back to my school. So for my high school, I came back to my school again. So just my mother and my relatives wanted me to go to different schools to have different experience, because by then they were saying I'm growing up and I should be mixing with people from different backgrounds. So that was the reason just to move. And then some have religious education at the school, because in American school it wasn't Islamic education by then. So I went to my other school, spent 2 years, and then came back to my high school. So I finished in my high school, the same old school.
Okay. So your father migrated to Birmingham in 1962. How did that impact you?
Because I felt we missed him a great deal, because when he was in Middle East, he will come every year home, and he'll come and spend a month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on his holidays. So we knew that by the end of the year, Dad is coming home. So that absence didn't feel great, even though that does have impact, because on occasions when other people have dad, our dad wasn't around, but we used to wait when Dad is going to come home. And when he's going to come home, he's going to come with lots of presents and things. So that was kind of bonus for his absence. But when he came to England, then obviously he didn't come. For those 8 years, we didn't see him. And I think that was... we missed him a lot, and I'm sure Mom did as well. But by then, my brothers were growing up, so they kind of did father's role. So that's why then the urge that we want to be with father, that grew greater and greater, and that's why Dad missed family as well, and he decided the family should come over, and then he did all the arrangements for us to come.
Okay, great. And that leads to my next question. Well, you spoke briefly about the reasons of wanting to be with your father. Were there any other reasons why you decided to migrate to Birmingham?
No, at that time, to be honest, I have no idea how life was over here. So apart from being with Dad, there was no other reason. Because we felt very happy from the point of view that we got grandparents, we got relatives, and didn't realize that once we leave there will be nobody we know. So that mentally we were not prepared. And I think the life, because Dad was sending money, and because he was in Middle East first, we had a very nice house. And we didn't even imagine that we were going to come to a terraced house. Have no idea of that lifestyle. So it was a great shock when we left a big house and we come to a very small house. And then nobody there. We didn't know who lived next door. So can you imagine coming in a place where you don't know the language, even though I was studying, my English was very good, but speaking, we didn't have the experience of speaking English. It was all like writing and reading. The focus wasn't on speaking. Listening and speaking skills we were not taught. We could read books, difficult stories, everything, but when it came to speaking, it took a while to get used to it. So it was very hard. The first few years were hard.
So you said that the first few years were quite hard. What were your first impressions? You mentioned it was difficult because you didn't know your neighbours. Was that quite difficult?
It was quite difficult because then we felt we were just shut in this little world where it's just us and nobody else. So it was exciting to be with Dad now, but Dad went to work. And we soon were sorted out to go to college and younger one to school. But I felt for my mother, which she told me later on, she wouldn't say at that time, because she was only glad that family is together now. But for her, it was very lonely. She didn't know anybody. She was scared to go out. And the whole day she was left on her own. No one to talk to. But later on, when she made friends, then she will go out to do shopping with a friend and spend some time outside. But mostly then it was just coming home. And for us, I think we found it hard, but we made friends at college, at school, like the younger one went to school, and we sorted ourselves out quite fast. Again, it was learning, and we were busy with learning, exams, and all those pressures. Then you didn't miss it. But when the letters used to come from Pakistan, and some happy occasion there, and some sad occasion there, then there was just nobody else to share with. You just sit among yourself and you cry or you laugh.
Okay, so did living in Birmingham, did that make you, like, I don't know if the right word is appreciate, but did it make you appreciate and miss Punjab more?
To begin with, it was always that I missed home, and I think all of us did to begin with. But once I remember writing long letters to my friend, to my schoolmate. That was then became a hobby. When you wanted to share something, you just got up, you wrote a letter and sent back home. And afterwards, I think now Birmingham is home too. So for me now, when I go to Pakistan, I miss Birmingham. So I don't know which one balances what.
Okay. Yeah, I completely understand that. So you mentioned your friends, that you'd write lots of letters to your friends back home. How did you make friends when you came to Birmingham, and could you describe them?
I think the first friends were at college, and because we were learning English. First course was learning English, and that was it's called Low Cambridge Certificate in English. And we were all those people who wanted to learn English. We were put together, and they were all over from Europe and Asia as well. So we, to give us experience, so we speak English and not our own language. Once we done that and we're confident in speaking, then I was doing my O-levels, and during that O-level, then whoever was Asian in college still wanted to speak our own language, so we made friends. Those were my first friends.
Okay, nice. And how was college in Birmingham? How was it different to education in Punjab?
I think it was very much different in here, but I think because it was very similar to my school, other people may have found it different, that you get children involved in learning. Apart from being the language, other learning was not difficult. I think it's the language which put me behind and took then long time to get where I wanted to. And the other thing was, at that time, I think not a lot of information was available, like there were careers advisors and things, but we didn't talk to many people what other opportunities were. We only route, I was told that you do O-levels, A-levels, and then degree, and then you start work. Whereas my other friends later on, I found they did their teacher training while they were doing their degree. So after their A-levels, they found their careers, what they wanted to do. But I remember meeting career advice as well, but I don't think it was opportunities were as good as they are now.
Okay. And outside of your college life and like your education, like what would you do?
In early years, we would just listen to music at home and TV. Those were the only social activities. But as we widen our social circle, then we started going to these, there was then cinemas and going out for meals. But that came much later. Once you formed your group, then I did those activities, got involved in other things, like organization. There was some organization who were doing programs for Asian, singing programs and things like this. So that came, I think, after a few years.
So was there a Pakistani community in Birmingham at the time?
Yeah, I think most families came in 70s to 75. It depends upon where you come from. Pakistani families came during that period. I think then Bangladeshi community came after, and then people from Uganda came after 73. So we kind of then uh, knew that more and more Asians were coming, so you're meeting more and more Asians once families were there. So we found our own kind of group. Uh, and in those days, parents weren't as liberal as they are now. Now you will see Asian children, even my own, that they go and meet outside their friends. But we were kind of parents has to meet those friends first before they will let us go out with them to town and other places. So it was a little different. Oh, your brother and sister went with you too, as well. And luckily, I went to college with my brother, so we have same friends. So we didn't have that difficulty forming friends, because then his friends were mine and mine were his, and so it became a good group. And going to cinema, when there was a cinema actually now where I live. There used to be cinema where that McDonald is now. There used to be a cinema there. I remember watching a film on Islam there first. That was very close to our Matthew Bolton College. We were next door. So that is the cinema we used to use because it was so close to the college. Or Mac at that time, because that was close to college as well. And then there was a cinema which was showing Asian film, I think not far from here. Where is the location? Yeah, you know where the Central Mosque is now? And there's a road opposite Central Mosque. The cinema was somewhere there. Now I think there's a kind of green area there. That was a first Asian film I saw, and it was snowing very badly. And we came on the bus, not annoying in the snow. You can't wear the shoes, Pakistani shoes. By the time I get home, I think those shoes you couldn't use them. They were not made for snow.
So, you've described the Punjabi community. How did you find integrating into just the British Birmingham community?
I think that it came from college again. We had friends at college, and we will just get involved in college activities. And those going to cinema and meal, that was with end of year activities we'll do, or end of term activities, and we will go there. And as I said, I was lucky because my brother was there. My parents didn't say, oh, you can't go there and you can't, like Christmas events and things. We just made some very good friends from all communities. I remember my best friend was Chinese as well, and English as well. I think once we were integrating and we learned the language, then the barrier has broken. Then you didn't see whether it was English, Chinese or Asian. You saw these are good people and they took care of you, and they want to be your friend, and that you just saw personal qualities in friends and you made friends.
Okay, so from what I can understand, you truly valued your friendships.
Mm-hmm.
Did that change when you went to university?
Yes, in university, obviously the system is different in university because you're more mature and you're more independent, and learning is kind of different. You're not in the classroom all the time, because at university the classroom was 14 hours a week or something like this. The rest you're left to do your own research, your own study. And I think the course I did was called Bianas in Government, and that was very much in those days not for women and not for Asian. I just went in there. There were 100 or something students in our class, and I was the only Asian female there. There were other three males. There were other three females. One was Mrs. Banda, where she was from. She was from an African country, and the other three were English. So that's all. That's all females. The rest were all male students. So you have to compete then in seminars and everything. So I think, but that gave me a lot of confidence.
And were there any like difficulties and like any challenges being the only female and Asian female?
There were kind of challenges because everybody was saying, what about the jobs at the end of the day? The people previous to us, the course was same, it was same course, nothing was changed, same tutor. So everything, it was called BA, Honours in Politics. And those people weren't getting jobs because a stigma was attached that they're radical people, they're politically now maybe left wing or something. So then the university realized people are not getting jobs because of that reason. So when we joined university, they changed the name of the same course and called it BA, Honours in Government. For our group, then we were concerned in 3 years, thinking at the end of 3 years, what if we don't get jobs? And that is the main aim of studying in those days. I wanted to work. But I was fortunate that wasn't seen. I think by changing the name of the course, it did work. All of us, our group, got jobs and there was no problem at the end.
And just to clarify, what university did you go to?
I went to it was called Birmingham Polytechnic, and now it's changed name twice. So is it Birmingham University of Central England, or it was UC University of Central England, and it's now
University College Bank.
University.
College Bank, sorry.
Right. Now the name is changing.
It's UCB now, isn't it?
Yeah,
University
UCB.
College
Yeah,
Bank.
that's what I was saying.
Okay, so were you still living in Birmingham at the time that you attended university?
Yeah, I didn't want to leave home.
And what were the reasons for that?
I think I didn't have the confidence that I could live on my own, maybe because I had such a protected environment at home. I just didn't want to venture out. So my aim was that I want to live in Birmingham. So I did apply outside Birmingham to universities. But then at the end, I decided I was going to stay in Birmingham. Maybe I think I have lost already so many years of my life. I was scared leaving Birmingham, then finding a new place, and I didn't want to experience what I experienced before moving to Birmingham. I just felt safe if I'm in my own environment.
Okay, I completely understand. So when you were at university, did you have a job at the time?
No, I don't think at that time, in those days, student didn't work. It's not like now. And my father, I think he wanted me to work once I've finished my education. That was his aim because he found like dad was educated person in Pakistan, but when he came here, obviously again not knowing the contacts and not finding the right job, his main aim was to support his family. So whatever job came along, he did. But in his voluntary time, he always wrote letters for his friends, read letters which came from Pakistan for other people, and went interpreting with his friend. But he never thought he could go and find a suitable job for himself because he educated person. He could have found better job, but he was just so busy then being the breadwinner and never tried to find a job which was better. So he didn't want us to do jobs until we finish our education.
Okay, and so after university, what happened next?
After university, I worked for 4 years with City Council. I was working, 4 years. Because I graduated and then started working with City Birmingham. 4 years I worked there. Then I got married. Then I left because my husband was from Pakistan. So he wanted me to come there. So I left and then I came back I came back to Birmingham when I was expecting my first daughter. Then I lost my husband about 3 years after marriage. So then choice was just coming back and living in Birmingham permanent again. And then because by then my second daughter was born, so I have to then think of going back to work. So I went back to the same department with City Council. And then I was finding hard working full time and having a young family because they have to go to nursery, and my parents were looking after them apart from nursery. So I just, and in those days again, there wasn't like now people have job share things. In those days, it wasn't a scheme of job share or anything. So I was trying to cut down on my hours, and I saw this advert for voluntary organization project manager, which they were starting in. They had one project in Birmingham, but they were starting in Salt Lake. Supporting families who have children under 5 and they were experiencing difficulties of isolation, being alone, and families being in different towns and things. So I love that because that's what I have experienced. So that attracted, that job attracted me. And it was for 30 hours, not for 37 and a half as I was working with City Council. So I thought, great, at least it'll be less hours. But then I loved the job. Job was very good. But I found again that job had demands of going on training for weekends and meetings in evening again. And that was then again clashing with my family needs. And then with one of the colleges, they were looking for a counselor because part of my degree of study psychology and I was training my volunteer and giving this counseling to them as well and to families. The college was looking for a counselor because they had full-time counseling service and they had one full-time counselor and they were looking for 20 hours counselor, and the rest of the time was covered by the teachers with their free time. So that 20-hour job suited me best. So I took it wasn't just the 20 hours, it was the job I was doing with that organization. So instead of doing now part of it, I'm doing for 20 hours. So I took that job for 20 hours and I said I wanted my hours 10 to 3 so I could drop my children to school and then pick them up. So I joined one of the further education college. I don't know if you want me to mention the college or not. And then I took my teaching role as the children was growing older, and then did my teacher training, and then retired from my college where I worked. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Something really interesting. You mentioned that you moved back to Pakistan when you married your husband.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I think not very long, about 1.5 years.
Okay, and how was it living there for 1.5 years after being in Birmingham for so many years?
It was like coming to England, to be honest, because all my family was here, and then I was alone again. And my husband was in his final year. He was becoming a doctor, and he was in a medical college which was quite a distance away from hometown where his family was. So I was with the family most of the time. He came home at the weekends. So it was very lonely. By then, my friends were married, moved away. So there was one, I think, friend, my school friend, I could visit and she could visit me. The rest have moved to the town as they got married, and so some of them, one friend has passed away who was my best friend from my childhood. So it was again quite lonely, but on the other hand, I made good friends with my husband's cousins and all that. So they were part of it very good. Part of it was very nourishing and thriving, making new friends in my husband's family. But I missed my family.
So right at the beginning of that interview, you mentioned that years later your mum said that when she migrated to Birmingham, she felt very lonely. So is that something you, as in like now that you were slightly older, you could understand like how your mother was feeling?
Yeah. At that time, I don't know how it is. We were thinking we have no friends and we got to make friends, but we knew mom has made one or two friends in the neighborhood. So now she's all right. That friend could speak her language, and then she went to like other activities to other social groups with a friend. So we thought that was enough, but we didn't realize that didn't happen every day, and it didn't happen maybe every week. So how lonely she was until mom knew that used to talk to me, and I realized. And then when I got married and went to Pakistan, and I realized how lonely mom would have been, but just being on her own most of the time. Okay, she could go to shops and she could do activity, but that wasn't enough to fill the day. She started learning English. She started going to ESOL classes, but because by then we moved into the area where there were no Asians. So the friends, she has to take a bus to come to visit those friends, the ones she made initially, because we only lived 4 years in that area. And because the house was small, we were not happy. We wanted to move. So we moved in Yardley, where we spent most of our time. So then again, she was lonely because there were no Asians nearby. So we didn't realize when we even moved into that area that it will be lonely for mom.
And how did that make you feel? Because you said you had a really good relationship with your mother.
I think in a way it's very satisfying because of when my husband passed away, I have to live with, not have to, but I made the choice of living with my parents again. And that brought us very close because they were part of my life just as much as my children were, because they were looking after my children. And so at the end of when I came home from work, she will bring me on children and I will listen, and then I have what is left for children to do, I will do that. And she had a big impact on my children's life. She was their teacher, like she was teaching us when we were young. She was reading with us and telling a story. She did the same with my children. And my dad taught them. My other day, my daughter said, my dad taught her how to tie the knot of school tie and shoelaces and things like this. And I did realize how much dad has contributed to it. And then when they came from school, they loved the way dad made beans on toast. So they wanted not me to make, dad to make it. So a relationship with my parents was very close. And then later on in their life, they needed a lot of care. And I was blessed, I think, to do that role alongside with my whole family. But because we were living together, I was very close to my parents.
Okay, great. I can see how your family played such an important part of your life. Moving on to the next question. Well, you've lived in Birmingham for 47 years now, I believe. In your opinion, how has Birmingham as a city changed or society changed?
Birmingham has changed and society has changed a great deal. Even just you looking at the city centre, it was totally different. There were subways. You have to go under the subways to get to other side of the Birmingham, or just even to the next street. And now you see it's all pedestrianised and new buildings. So that's one thing you can see the change. And then a lot of roundabouts being made, and the green and the flower baskets. I think it's changed for better from their perspective, environmental side of it. And I think from other point of view as well, because when people migrated, they stayed in their communities to begin with. So it became like Asian community, Bangladeshi community, and then Indian community, because everybody wanted to be closer to their people they knew, or people from their village, or then shops, facilities. And as the time went by, they've integrated into different areas now. And I think that's a good thing. People haven't just stayed in those areas. People have moved on. Now you see Asian restaurants. You go to to countryside and you'll find Asian restaurant there. It was not in those days. You have to. It was, I think, all in one place you will find those things, but not at other places. So I think that's good. That's a good thing.
And are there any changes that you don't like, or
I think the changes, the technology maybe. The technology has taken over our life, and in those days we sat down, we had meal together, and I think those were the meal time was when you shared everything, how your day was. The parents shared how their day went, we shared how our day went, and there was a lot of guidance given without being saying, you must do that, you must do that, you must do that, you must be careful of this, you mustn't do that. It just came naturally in the conversation. Whereas I feel now, with the technology advancement, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying technology shouldn't have come in our life. But I think it's taken over our life to that extent that we live together and we don't have time for each other, because as soon as we are free, we got phone, laptop, computer, and we buried under over here. Like if I'm on the computer, my back is there. A phone is ringing all the time now, which is a good thing because you can contact people all over the world. But on the other hand, you haven't got time for people who you live with, or people you work with, or your neighbours, and you don't have that much time now left free in your life. Because I had young children, I brought them up, worked full time, but I did have voluntary jobs. I was a school governor for 4 years. I was on the resident association. I was part of different poetry groups. But where did I get the time? And that was all being with people then, I think, rather than being with equipment. All these jobs I was doing, even on voluntary basis, I was making new friends while I was with those people. And I had time for my neighbor. My neighbor is my close friend. Still where I lived in Yardley, I know these neighbors too. But with the technology, I don't think people have time. I don't think my daughters know neighbors as much as I do. So it's just life is taken over. For them, life is totally different. Their priorities are different.
okay. Okay, so what does the community mean to you now?
I think community spirit is very important, because when I was working for the voluntary organization, the young mothers were suffering because there were no help and support, and their families were, they moved to Birmingham and families were in another town, and the kind of issues they had in life, the kind of issues then children faced as a result, it made me humble person to realize how lucky those people are who have got that family support and who have got friends support as well. And I think I've been very lucky that I had very good friends in my life, even back in Pakistan and here, and who have been true and genuine friends. And some of them are from my college days here, which were as soon as I arrived in England. Those friends, and I'm still in touch with them, and some made over the years as my journey progressed further. Some live nearby, some live other part of the Birmingham, but if I need them, I know my friends will be there. And this is the change I want in community, because I know that you can get help from social services, you can get help from other agencies, but best, I think, help comes from your family, your friends, and your community neighborhood. And if we can revive that in the community, we won't be having those problems which we are facing at the moment in the community. And I think people need to give their some time for community as well, voluntary, because I always kept my voluntary work side and helping my neighbors, knowing my neighbor, and I think we should continue to revive that spirit.
And how do you think we can do that?
I think we can just hold seminars or have some leaflet and publicity on those bases, or people. You don't have to do a big day. People can have coffee mornings, or go for walks together. There's simple thing people can do with their neighbors and with their friends, and that gives you quality time to spend with them. It's your hobbies, and you build on your hobby. I go for a walk with my friends. We sometimes we'll sit together and share a skill they have. So you don't need to have a big party or big event to spend with your friends. You do simple things, and then you're spending quality time with your friends.
Okay, lovely. You've spoken a lot about your own relationship with your mother. How is the relationship with you and your daughter, and how do you want the relationship to continue, like throughout generations?
I think the same what kind of relationship I had with my mother. I've tried to use the same kind of strategies and same ways, same style with my own daughters. We are very close, and I wish it will continue. And my one daughter is married. She lives in her own house, but we see each other every day. So far, she's married now for 3 years. And same, I think we can do, rather than going too far away from your families, even when you get married. I know for jobs and for other reasons you have to, but if you have got jobs in the same town and you can stay, try to stay with your family, because you need help. Now, with my grandchildren, she got 2 grandchildren, she needs my help. And I'm there, this is my hobby now, to spend time with my grandchildren. And I think it's very important. Try not to go too far away from your family. Otherwise, there will be a lot of issues. If you're newly married, you got family responsibilities, then you got children responsibilities. The only way you can overcome those hurdles and difficulties are if you got some support from the family and your friends.
Okay, on to our final question. What do you think makes Brummy?
Well, maybe I think I'm glad that we came to Birmingham, because Birmingham is now multicultural city. There isn't a nationality you don't find. There isn't a language you don't find in Birmingham. The food, culture diversity. I think I'm very happy that I came to Birmingham. Like when you compare people in London, I know they're happy because they are. This is the lifestyle they're used to. But if I go to London, I long to come back to Birmingham, because life is, I think, 30 times more hectic than Birmingham. We still got some life left. But over there it's very hectic. People are just running. If you go to underground, people are just running. You're bumping into people, and nobody got time even to stop and tell you the way. But I'm sure this society is still helping each other. That's how it's moving forward. But I think we are better off in Birmingham. I would like to know.
Okay, so Sayyara is going to be reading us some poems that she's written over the years.
This is my poem which says moving here, and I will read in English. It was written in English because we were given theme. I'm part of Right of the Borders group, and we were given this theme to write poem. Leaving loved ones and relatives behind, home, friends, pets, belongings, and years of my life. Leaving a void and vacuum in life, not knowing when to return, what to expect of the chosen place, for which you have crossed the ocean, the weather, language, people, way of life. It will take eras to learn new ways of forgetting the old, no friends, relatives, or family, to sport and overcome the hurdles of life. A mixture of feelings of sadness and joy to make a new beginning, opening the next chapter of life. Sometimes turning over the pages of your past, passing through a desert which feels too vast. So much is still there in your memory, in silence and darkness, yours alone to keep. Each time they are altered, their pieces lost with time. What was once familiar becoming changed, as no one else understands but me. So this is so this part is when I went back to Pakistan and found how things have changed there as well, because I felt lonely again because my friends have moved from that town and I couldn't visit them as much as I wanted. So that piece, the last few lines relate to that piece. And I got similar poem which I don't have translation at the moment with me, but I'm going to read in Urdu, which gives you kind of same feelings and experiences which are given in that poem. And the title of the poem is न पूछो दिल पे क्या गुजरी हिजरतों के बाद. किसी ने नहायत मोहब्बत से सवाल किया, तुम यहाँ आने के बाद अपने वतन में क्या छोड़ आई थी. मैं दरिया को कूजे में किस तरह बंद कर सकती हूँ. इन यादों को, इन बातों को अल्फाज में समाना मुमकिन ही नहीं. गहरी सोच के बाद मैं कुछ यूँ गोया हुई. मुझे याद आता है वो आंगन जहाँ पर मैंने पाँव पाँव चलना सीखा, और वो दरो दीवार जिन्होंने मुझे तहफ़्फ़ुज़ दिया. याद आती है उन रिश्तों की जिन्होंने अपनी गोद में लेकर मुझे लोरियां सुनाई. याद करती हूँ उन सखियों को जिनके संग संग मैंने गुड्डे गुड़ियों के खेल खेले. किकली कहा डाली जिनके साथ मैं हंसी, रोई, मुस्कुराई, रूठी और लुकन मिट्टी खेली. इस दर्जगाह की यादें अभी ताज़ा हैं जहाँ पर इल्म अदब और इखलाकियात का दर्स लिया और उसने मेरी शख्सियत को निखारा और मैं लड़कपन को पहुँची. याद आते हैं वो मुशफ़िक़ साथीज़ा जिन्होंने मेरी इल्मी इस्तिदाद को तक़वियत बख्शी और मेरे इखलाकी हुस्न को निखारा. याद आती हैं वो मौसम, वो झक्कड़, वो जाड़े, सूरज की तमाज़त और वो दोपहरें जो औरों के लिए आराम करने के लिए थीं, मगर हमारे लिए दरख्तों पर चढ़ने, बागों से फल उतार कर, झरनों के साफ़ और शफाफ पानी में धोकर खाने के मौके पैदा करती. बागों में झूले पर झूम झूम कर गीत गाए जाते. याद आते हैं वो गन्ने के खेत जहाँ से हम अपनी मर्ज़ी से गन्ने तोड़ कर लाते और सर्दियों की सुबह को ठिठरते ठिठरते खुशामदीद कहते. याद आती हैं वो सर्द गर्म हवाएं जिनके थपेड़े खा खा कर हम तितलियों की मानत एक जगह से दूसरी जगह उड़ते भागते पहुंच जाते. और वो अजीज़ रिश्ते जिनसे बिछड़ने का तसव्वुर करना भी गवारा न था, उनमें से कई हमेशा के लिए बिछड़ चुके हैं और जो ज़िंदा हैं उन्हें देखने को आंखें तरसती हैं. तमाम यादें मेरी ज़िंदगी का हिस्सा हैं और माजी की खुशगवार यादें ही मुझे खुशबाश रखती हैं और अपने तसव्वुर की दुनिया में अपने माजी के झरोकों में झांक लेती हूँ और ये माजी हाल से जुदा नहीं हो सकता और ये मेरे मुस्तकबिल से भी वाबस्ता रहेगा. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I didn't talk about my childhood games because they were totally different than what we do play now. But in this poem, I've talked about those games we played.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I think being a woman, I have to say, being a strong woman or going through ups and downs of life, how it has made me a different person. A woman is like the first flower of a spring, which brings the message of joy to everyone. The air is full of fragrance of that flower. When a woman is born just like that flower, she brings blessing to her home. If this woman is given the right upbringing, love and care, she acquires all the qualities and abilities to cope with any situation in life. She does her best to perform all the roles in her life, genuinely and honestly. As a daughter, as a wife, as a mother, she brings honor and pride to her family. Not only does she look after her family, but she takes care of society and helps others too. She is strong-willed and stands like a rock in the midst of difficult time. A woman is nothing but a loving and caring person, and she passes on love and emotions onto her children. She is always willing to sacrifice her own needs for others to give happiness to others. A woman has self-pride and dignity. She does not let go of it. Chapters of history are full of these stories where a number of women have performed an astonishing role from home to battlefields. Let us all celebrate the achievement of women in our society, the work, the effort, and the development carried out by these women. They are an inspiration for others. So that was being woman. And I think you asked me earlier the relationship between me and my daughters, and relationship maybe my relationship with my mother. I've tried to sum it up in this poem when my daughter got married, and I sat down and wrote this poem. The title of this poem is Holding Your Heart. These memories so clear in my mind, years and years apart, remain fresh in my heart. I held you in my warm light, and later in my arms tight, not letting go of you for a breath or a sigh. Then you started walking and holding my hand strongly. There came a time you did not need to hold on. You had the confidence to be alone. And we were walking side by side, yet not being alone even when out of sight. Now you have entered a new era, a new beginning, opening a fresh chapter in your life. You were in my mind, I was in the shadow, but holding your heart instead. You and I, determined and strong, stand next to each other, facing the realities of life. We laughed, cried, struggled, flourished, holding each other's hearts. Never being alone, even when out of each other's sight. I'm not forgetting the puzzle of your life. I'm still here. I am your shadow all of the time, holding your heart. It has to change, and it will, for you to flourish and strive. But one thing is clear, although we may not hold each other's hand, we do hold one another's heart. No matter if we are far or near, love and respect will keep us together in both our hearts and our minds. And that is not actually just for my one daughter who is married. The reflection of feeling is for my both daughter. But as I wrote, when she's married, it just comes across that I'm talking about one daughter.
Thank you.
Okay.